Most people spend their entire lives chasing a single number. They stare at the bottom of their brokerage statement, waiting for the day it finally hits $1 million or $2 million, believing that is the moment they've finally made it. But here is a data-backed truth that the Wall Street experts rarely mention. Your net worth is a lie. Well, not a lie, exactly, but it is a deeply incomplete picture. I want you to imagine two different people. We will call them Mark and Elena. Both of them have exactly $750,000 in their investment accounts. On paper, they are identical, but because of how their wealth is structured, Elena is functionally 3 times richer than Mark. She has more spendable income, more security during a market crash, and significantly less stress. The reason is simple. Wealth isn't just a static pile of cash. It's a machine driven by 5 specific multipliers. If you understand these multipliers, you realize that you might already be much closer to your exit number than you think. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you the private well analogy that determines if the government owns 30% of your lifestyle or 0. Before we dive into the first multiplier, we need to have a moment of intellectual honesty. The hustle culture world wants you to focus on the gross balance because it looks good in a thumbnail. But on this channel, we focus on liquid wealth and dignity. If you want to move past the surface level numbers and understand the actual engine of your freedom, hit the like button and subscribe. It tells me that you're ready for the rational peer approach to finance rather than the flashy noise. The first multiplier is the one that most people ignore until it's too late: tax location. The first multiplier is what I call the tax location effect. To master this, we have to address the hidden partner sitting at your kitchen table, the IRS. I want you to imagine your retirement savings as a water source for your future self. Most people build a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA. In our world, this is a city tap. You did the hard work of building the infrastructure and saving the money, but the city, the government, owns the handle. Every time you turn that tap to pay for your life, the government decides the price of the water. If tax rates are higher in 15 years than they are today, the value of your wealth drops instantly through no fault of your own. You might see $1 million on your screen, but if the government's cut is 30%, you only actually own $700,000. The other $300,000 belongs to your hidden partner. Now, contrast that with a Roth IRA. This is what we call a private well. You've already paid the tax on the money you put in. You dug the well, you own the land, and every single drop of water you pull out belongs to you. $100,000 in a Roth is functionally worth $130,000 or more when compared to a traditional account. If you don't distinguish between paper wealth and spendable freedom, you are building your retirement on a foundation the government can move at any time. When you optimize for tax-free growth, you are effectively multiplying your wealth without having to earn an extra cent. But taxes are only the first hurdle. Even a tax-free account can be wiped out by a silent thief that strikes the very moment you stop working. It's called sequence risk, and if you don't have a plan for it, your private well could run dry during the first drought. This leads us to our second multiplier, the forced seller protection. This is where the math of wealth becomes deeply psychological. Let's look at our two friends again, Mark and Elena. Mark is what we call a fragile millionaire. He has $1 million, and because he's been told his whole life that stocks always go up, he keeps 100% of his money in the S&P 500. He wants maximum growth. But the year Mark retires, the market hits a massive pothole and crashes by 30%. Now, Mark's portfolio is worth $700,000. On paper, that's bad, but it's not fatal unless he needs to spend money. Mark still has a mortgage. He still needs groceries. To pay his bills, Mark is forced to sell his shares while they are at the bottom. He is a forced seller. Every time he sells a share at a 30% discount, he is permanently destroying the second you. He is killing the golden goose right when he needs the eggs. Now, look at Elena. She actually has less money than Mark, only $750,000. But Elena has studied the rational peer blueprint. She uses the bond buffer. Instead of chasing a percentage, Elena looks at her life in terms of years of groceries. She keeps 3 to 5 years of her actual living expenses in high-quality bonds or a simple high-yield savings account. When that same 30% market crash hits, Alina doesn't panic. She doesn't even look at her stock ticker. She simply turns off the stock tap and lives off her bond buffer. She gives her stocks the one thing they need to recover: time. By the time Alina's 3-year buffer starts to run low, the market has likely recovered and moved to new highs. Because she was never a forced seller, her $750,000 provided more long-term security, more spendable cash, and infinitely more dignity than Mark's $1 million. She multiplied her wealth by simply refusing to sell when the world was on sale. The solution isn't to get caught up in complex Wall Street spreadsheets. It's to simplify your strategy into something I call the years of groceries rule. Most experts will tell you to keep a certain percentage in bonds, maybe 40%, but percentages are abstract math. They don't help you sleep at night. Instead, I want you to look at your actual lifestyle. If you spend $4,000 a month, that means you need $48,000 a year to live your life with dignity. To build a 3-year bond buffer, you simply need $144,000 tucked away in safe, liquid assets. Think of this as your market immunity. Once you have those 3 years of groceries secured, the second your stock portfolio, can be as aggressive as it needs to be. You've removed the forced seller multiplier from the equation. You've given your wealth the one thing it needs most to compound: uninterrupted time. Now that we've secured your floor, we need to talk about the final and most powerful multiplier of all. It's the one that separates the people who retire from the people who actually stay retired. This final multiplier is behavioral flexibility. True wealth isn't about being able to buy whatever you want, whenever you want. It's about the freedom to roll with the punches. Imagine the market has a bad year. The fragile millionaire sees their net worth drop and panics because their identity is tied to that number. But the rational peer looks at their plan and makes a tiny pivot. Maybe they skip the luxury cruise that year. Maybe they wait 12 months to renovate the kitchen. That one decision, that behavioral flexibility, can be worth $100,000 or even $200,000 in preserved capital over the course of a retirement. This is the vision of this channel. It's not a life of restriction, it's a life of agency. You aren't a victim of the market's mood swings. You are the pilot. You have the tax-free private well, the bond buffer for safety, and the mental flexibility to navigate any storm. When you have these multipliers in place, you realize the finish line isn't a mountain you have to climb. It's a gate you've already unlocked. If you're watching this and feeling like you're still miles away from being rich, I want you to look at your accounts again through this new lens. You might be 30% or even 50% closer to your goal than the gross balance suggests, simply by optimizing where your money sits and how you plan to spend it. You are learning to play a different game. While everyone else is obsessed with the oil gauge of their net worth, you are focusing on the health of the engine. If this deep dive helped you see your wealth in a new light, hit the subscribe button. We are building a community of people who choose clarity over complexity and freedom over flash. By subscribing, you're making sure that every week you get a rational peer reality check to keep your plan on track. Stay the course. You aren't just a number on a spreadsheet, you are the architect of your own dignity. Now that you know why you're richer than you think, you need to see our breakdown on the crossover point to find out exactly when you can stop pushing that boulder uphill. Keep playing the long game. I'll see you in the next video.